This is Coach Miles' 12th year as our head coach. He's taken us to 11 straight bowl games. 8 out of 11 years, he's won 10 or more games. His graduation rate continues to improve. In the last couple years, we've been second in the league, only to Vanderbilt in graduation rates. He continues to recruit amazingly well. He has assembled, I think, the finest staff in the country. He has tremendous respect by all of his players. He is definitely a player's coach. And most importantly, he's a great role model. He's a great family man. He has a great family, and he's a caring, loving father. And you know what? We're really lucky to have him as our head coach. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you my friend, Les Miles.
Good afternoon, all. Nice to see everybody here. Have me some very expensive glasses. I just wanted to kind of show them off. I got that nice tiger stripe on the side. You know, so. I don't know if it really helps me any, but I just like the damn tiger stripes. So, yeah. I want to thank the band. It's the start of the year when I hear that song. And it's enough to make you emotional and enjoy going into that stadium and fighting for what's good and right. And I think what our community's been through has been exactly the same thing. And we're thankful that we have a country where you have law and you have direction and you have quality men that try to do as great a job as they can. It's a difficult job. It's a hard job. I was fortunate to be around Sid and Hiller a bunch, and Carl Dabadie. I haven't really spent a lot of time with you, and you get a cell ready for me, I'll come right on over. So, and Michael Edmondson, when I first arrived, he was my security. So when you're on the front lines there for us, and it concerns your friends that you're taken care of and protected. Said when I came and spoke to your group, I said, one of the proudest times of my life was seeing my dad, who was just for a very brief moment in his career, was a Lorain County Sheriff's deputy. And I thought that was, wow, the greatest thing going. And I know, Mike, you've heard me say this before, but he wore that flat-billed hat to there. And he was 6'5" and 320 for a good portion of his life. And I can remember I'm about 9 years old, and I'm out in no school today because in Ohio you could have 8 inches of snow. And I was out going to shovel the walk, and that big man went across the grass or the snow and he said, Duke, he says, try to get it done before I get back. And got in his car, and I'm just sitting there. I'm holding the shovel like this, and I'm looking at that big sucker, and I'm going, man, he's the baddest dad there's ever been. And I just want you to know that's what your sons think. So you make sure that you come home. You make sure you come home. So, and if it costs a little bit more money to whatever you need to get that done, get that done. So we care for you as people. Our community's gone through some change, and it will eventually be seen very positively. I think there'll be more compassion. I drive with an officer that gets me sometimes where I need to go, and pull up to the light the other day, and Nice lady, sitting in her car, rolls the window down, sees the officer and waves. He waves back. Basically what she was saying was, I'm with you. We care for you. My wife was at a gas station. You guys are, I'm sure, experiencing the same things. And she's out pumping gas, and up pulls a man, and he goes, how's your day? And she said, very good, and how's yours? And you know what? That's really a community, in my opinion. It's reaching out and saying, we don't really know what to do exactly, okay? Because there's not any 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of this. Because if there was, everybody get in line, go fix this thing right now, okay? But what they're saying is that in their chair, in their seat, where you're at today, where I'm standing today, when I address my team, that have compassion for your man, your fellow man. Have a respect for their opinion and their differences. And I was fortunate to visit a couple of the guys that were still in the hospital, and I want you to know, I have never been that serving. I would not compare to the 2 men that I visited. And I'm going to tell a story at the risk of boring you. This is after the Alden Sterling issue, and this officer says, "I'm coming home, babe. Be home 6:30 or so," and he calls back about 7 o'clock. He says, "Hey, listen, I found a woman on the side of the road here, and she's with a child, and she needs some help." And he says, "I'm gonna fix her tire for her." So we went to fix her tire. Tire didn't fit, so he had to take his tire out of his car, put it on her car, and then he tied it as tight as he could because it wasn't it was a wobble fit. And he says, "Listen, I'm gonna follow you home." He followed her home, took the tire off of that car, put it in his trunk, put her flat tire back on so that when she called somebody to come get it, she could, certainly fix it right there. He got home at 10 o'clock at night. I just want you to know, I don't know that I've ever been that serving. I do my job. I understand the long hours and those things, but those are not choices for me. That's my job. I want to do a great job. This had nothing to do with his job. This had to be with, he's just a serving community guy, and wanted to be a part. And his families, I sat there and saw those 2 families, magnificent families. Gosh. So I think this community is built on the differences of the people that we have. The great many, I said I have a difficult time pronouncing your last name all the time. I mean, honest to shoot, I could practice 3 times before I came to the podium and still get it wrong. So, but how wonderful it is that the mash of culture, the enjoyment of people is here. And I have to say, and this is just me, this is my home, and I love living here. And I just see it so rich, and different styles of people I want in. So you know what, I've done this now, and I'll do this until probably the first meeting that I have with my team again, because I've already done it to them. Talk about change, and but I think as those people that, like Joe, felt compelled to, when he took the microphone, I think that there's a call there that you have to do this. That this is a part of us. That this, if you asked me to speak, you were getting this, and whether you liked it or not. And I think that you all should consider that in your business when you open a day, when you start a work day, to give thought to some of those things. Keep this dialogue going, because it's special. We've got a special place here. We don't want to lose it. And we certainly want some son of somebody sometimes. From another city. I know the name of the city too, and I do know the name of the dumbass. But I want you to know, he does not define us. That man, he had his own agenda. His agenda was militaristic. He wanted to have everybody talk about what a big gun he had, and he wanted, hey, he was in great shape, and he moved over here, and he did this. And let me tell you something, he dies in anonymity to me. So the guys that wore blue, they were heroes. So now I'm off that. My family, Macy Miles had an unbelievable fast pitch softball tournament. She dominated the back end of the tournament, won it in Tennessee. Round of applause for my 13-year-old fast pitch softball kid. Ben Miles is being pressured by another school to have him attend, and of course I sleep with his mom, and I like right down the hallway from his room. So I'm have him put there, so you know that. So not necessarily ready to just say go ahead, Ben. So Manny is doing well at North Carolina. He jumped off a bridge, legitimately 40-foot bridge. If you follow him on, what do they call that stuff, Snapchat or whatever it is, you'll see it. Hey, Yael, you know, what is it? What's the name of that stuff? Instagram. Yael, hey, Yael, you here? Hey, where's Manny's dive? Manny 7? On what? Instagram. If she hadn't showed me, I would have never seen it. So, Smacker Miles called me. She said, "Listen, I'm going to do this thing for ESPN, Dad, and here's my 4 ideas. You, then the Tigers, then Leonard, then the team room." I said, "Did you just have to pick LSU Tigers? I mean, there's some other ideas out there." She was going to put together, but it was a wonderful conversation. And so then I'm going to talk about Father's Day quickly. Those people that are fathers. I went to Austin to see my eldest 2, and they said to me, "We're going to take you to a lake." And I said, "Okay." And they said, "No, we're going to bring an overnight bag." And I said, "An overnight bag?" I said, "Listen, you don't understand something. That's how I got here. This is an overnight bag. I don't have like other stuff." And and so he says, "Well, come on, Dad, we're going to go." I said, "Listen, because I'm obviously in Austin, they have places to sleep and right by the lake there." And I said, "Listen, I am not sleeping on the ground on Father's Day. So I'm just letting you know I'm not." Okay, that's good. We're good with that. And so in the car they were driving, and they went to the airport. I said, "Oh, this is a move." I said, "So where are we going?" And I mean, legitimately, I have not a clue. Then on to, they said, "We're going to go to Dallas." And then I've lived in Dallas. I know there's a lake. I said, "Okay." And I know there's probably a family or 2 there that these kids would love to see. I said, "Okay, Dallas. I'm good with Dallas." There was another thing. There was some communications I didn't quite get. And then we land in Dallas. And then we go to Cleveland. I said, "Well, now I got it. I'm going to go see the game, right? We'll see the Golden State versus the Cavaliers. That'd be the Cavaliers, the world champion Cavaliers." Just so you know how I felt about sitting there screaming for the Cavaliers. Go Cavs. So then I went and took my kids on a ride to another place that I met my college roommate. And anyways, but I went back to my hometown, Elyria, Ohio. There was 5 places we lived in the same town. 5 places. First of all, it was Ely Village. I said, I only remember the name. I don't remember exactly what it looked like in any way. Okay, so I said, Google it. Google Ely Village. Ely Village was up and gone long before Google even started, right? Okay? She says, my eldest daughter, "There is no Ely Village." And so then there were some people walking by in in a rundown neighborhood. I said, listen, do you know where Ely Village is? Hell yeah, it's right over here, okay? And I went back in there and I recognized the place that I probably spent 2 years, and let my family know where they're from and who they are. And I went to there was a spot where we lived in a 1-bedroom and an attic. No, 2-bedroom and an attic. The attic had three boys, me and my 2 brothers, and my sister was the only girl, had her own room, and my parents. Okay, and during that time I had to grow up a little bit. My father caught me coming home from school the wrong way. And when you come home from school the wrong way, there's a reason why you came home from school the wrong way. And my father inquired less why. I says, well, this guy was taking my lunch money and beating me up, and so Mom told me to go the other way. It sounds like a good plan to me, right? My father said, yeah, that's a good plan. He says, now tomorrow I'm going to go to school with you, and here's what we're going to do. You're going to go right up to, and this guy's name was Bobby Piper. You're going to go right up to Bobby Piper and tell him no. He ain't taking my money. He's not taking my money. I says, then what, Dad? He says, then you fight. And I said, oh, damn. That's the plan? I take him to that little area. I showed him where the ditch was. Well, there wasn't a ditch anymore. There used to be a ditch because they put pipes in there and they put grass over top the pipes. But in that ditch, here's what happened. I said, man, I got my dad, 6'5", 320. He's going to come ripping out of that car and kick the living hell out of all these guys. This is great. I have my that same jacket, to be honest with you, that I had fur all around the top of it. I had it tied up tight to my chin, and I had it zipped up, and it was vinyl. I mean, it was the kind of thing you had to fight like heck to bend your arm, and it slid along the ground really easily. So Bobby Piper comes up to me and says, okay, give me the money. I says, no. He says, now you know what's going to happen, right? And I'm going to tell you, I didn't throw a punch. Yep, I know. And he went, pow, and I went, donk, and then I land on the ground, and he takes my shoes off, throws them in the water, and in that vinyl jacket kind of shoves me in the ditch. And so I slide back in the ditch like this, and I'm showing this right to my kids, right where it happened, right? And and then they said to me, well, so what'd your dad do? I said, that was the dangest thing. He never moved. He never got out of the car. I says, when Dad came, I says, that's your plan? Let him just kick the living hell out of me? And he says, well, here's what's going to happen, son. He says, he's going to get tired of beating you up. And he'll let you alone. I said, "Oh, great, Dad! I'm telling you, I thought I had the big card in the background. He did nothing." So, anyways, okay. I might as well finish that story. So now, Danny Moore. That's amazing how you remember these names, right? Danny Moore was like the kind of the athlete of the neighborhood, a little older kid, kind of good kid, good neighborhood kid. And this Bobby Piper was a pain in the tail. I am certain that in some place in Ohio, there's law enforcement agencies that know his name, okay? I just want you guys to know, okay? Now, I want you to know something. If somebody comes up to me and says, I know Bobby Piper, and he's the finest, kindest man, I will apologize all over myself, I promise. But back when, he was a thief. So just so you know. So here's what happens. Dad sends me down to the corner store to get me some goodies, ice cream and candy and cakes and stuff. And I said, good plan, Dad. And so off I went on the bike, got my stuff, turned right around, I'm headed back home. And Danny Moore has got Bobby Piper kind of going in Larry Regler's yard. Larry Regler had a basketball hoop, okay, and Bobby Piper could play basketball, but he always, like as usual, cheated or something and pushed on old Larry Regulator, and Larry Regulator was the smallest of the group. Okay, Danny Moore shows up on property, and he says, Bobby, I'm going to kick your butt one more time. And I am riding my bike up to the house, right? Hey, Danny, you can't do that. Hang on. And so I said, Dad, here's the goodies. Dad's watching the whole thing now, right? Okay. And I go back across the street. And I says, Danny, you can't beat him up. You're too old. He says, you're right. He says, you're up, Les. Well, I had grown up some. I mean, it had been, he was like in the 5th grade, and I was like in the 2nd or 3rd, so it was, like half a body length difference, right? Well, I'd kind of come some, right? And so then, I should tell the story, the John Wayne story. And so then I took my fists, and I said, I'm going to just beat you to a pulp, Bobby Piper. And I hit him with my left, and I dropped him with my right, and I said, yeah, that's right. Anybody else want some? But it didn't go quite like that. Here's what it went like. I'm with you. Okay. Good. You good? Yeah, I'm good. So he left. I kicked Bobby Piper. So that's what I was doing this summer. Reliving old fun, right? So, Cuba, quickly. Consider this an election year. I promise you, socialism and being communistic is not what you want to do. It's not the place. If anybody kind of mentions socialism with a smile, here's what you have. Everybody makes $40 a week. The doctors work till 3 and drive a cab till like 6 or 7, and they make as much money in the cab that they did being a doctor. And I want you to know something. The guy that I hired to show me around, we'd gone into what was the center part of Havana, and I said, he's still, there's a communistic, socialistic, democracy, and capitalism kind of problem here with me and him. And he says, they tell me, and he's starting the fight verbally. They tell me, they said, these hot dogs at the Super Bowl cost $9. I says, well, if you go to the Super Bowl, you can afford a $9 hot dog. And he's basically telling me how much money it costs to live in the United States and all those things. And I said, listen to me. I says, well, all we have to do here is to have a thriving economy, because he knows. I mean, every car is 1953. It's either beautiful or it's in a dump. And every building is got underwear hanging out. And so I said, listen, what we're going to do here is this. I'm going to hire a bunch of laborers, and they're going to be the best ones. And we're going to put in plumbing, and we're going to put in air conditioning, and we're going to take care of this place. And that place, that right there, I'm going to put in $500,000. You're going to be 20% owner in it. I'm going to be 80% owner in it, and we're going to go like heck. And at the end of this, it's going to be one of the best places in all of Havana to live, and our laborers will live there, because we're going to pay them a wage that is commensurate with their skill and talent. We're going to take the best guys. Then we'll do it to the next one, and we'll do it to the next one. And I says, and by the time we hit 4 or 5 of these, we're going to have an economy, a mini economy right here in this socialism, the communistic area, except for one thing. Your government will nationalize the industry and take it over. And we will have created, and then it will suddenly have changed. And he went, really at that point in time, I think he was about ready to give up as we moved on to another area in Cuba. So now, at the end of last season, we were just after we played Florida. Should have been 8-3, 8-0, I should say. And we lost 4 guys going into the Alabama game, and those 4 guys certainly were guys that we had loved to have had with us. We we got those guys back. And we have 18 of 22 starters. And I think on offense, I think you'll look to see Brandon Harris be a lot more comfortable and play with poise, and he always could throw it. He's more prepared to play now than he could have been. And you know, I think you'll like seeing Malachi Dupree and Travian Durrell and C.J. Chark, and I think you'll like Fournette and Geis, and a nice veteran offensive line. We'll have 3 starters back and guys that would have playing in the other spots. On defense, Dave Aranda's doing a really great job in terms of putting together a scheme, and you know, we have real speed in the perimeter and speed at linebacker. It will advantage us when we put that defense on the field with Jamal Adams, T. White, Devin Gotchow, and Kendall Beckwith. Kendall Beckwith will be one of the more talented linebackers that you'll see anywhere. And he'll run 4.5 or under and weigh 255 and be, you know, 6'3.5". So pretty special guy. Special teams, Kobe Delahousse. It just goes to show you how quickly a brush with disaster can be. He was working at camp in Wisconsin, and he was going to go to another coach's house and left a little party, no alcohol involved, just a little get-together after a camp, and came off the road and hit a tree, and the guys sitting in the front seat passed, and the guys in the back seat, when they got out of the car, they lived. And that was, and one of those was Kobe. So very tragic summer event. But Kobe will be with us. Josh Groudon will be our punter. Connor Culp is a guy that we brought in on scholarship, and big, strong leg, kicks it a mile, and you know, we can see if we kick it in between those posts. It might get us some 3-pointers. So, we play Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is a very good football team, and we'll have to play well. We're playing there. It's going to be a 90,000-seat stadium with a bunch of people from Wisconsin screaming like hell. So we would expect that the purple and gold would travel very well, and it's 10-1. It's we bring one, and they scream like 10 of those other guys. So this has been a joy visiting with you all. I didn't know that you guys were going to be here. So any questions? One of 2 things. One, it's really boring, okay? Or I did such a great job and I informed you on everything, there's no questions.